I would say in the last 5 years, I see more and more inventors that understand the value of IP strategy in their business. And when you meet such a client, it's a great pleasure because, there is a true communication. We understand what is what the C-level executive want, and we try to build, IP roadmap which will meet their business goal.
Welcome to 20-Minute Leaders. Just sit back, relax, and learn from the leaders of today. It's a journey. Each one is different, unique, inspiring. Let's get started. 20-Minute Leaders is a proud supporter of Make-A-Wish Israel and Tech to Peace, and is in proud collaboration with Secret Chord Ventures, J Ventures, Riverside FM, Fusion VC, Birthright Excel, J Impact, Leap, Google for Startups, and Hippo, and in media partnership with CTech. Udi, I'm really excited to talk to you, about your journey, your perspective. Quite a really interesting journey leading into intellectual property and patents. Today, you're managing the high-tech practice of Reinhold Cohn and Partners. Initially, computer science background, very more engineering, and then going into intellectual property.
Yes, this was. In fact, I had a technical background in military, the Air Force, and then I started computer science and did masters in the Technion, Haifa, and then I decided that I'll move to the patent attorney route. I was a trainee. I qualified as a patent attorney, and then I decided to finalize my education, did attorney at law and a lawyer, and that's it for now.
What happened? Tell me a little bit about the transition. You as an engineer and then you as a patent attorney. What was that transition like for you? What prompted that transition? What led to it?
It's a good question because also being a software engineer, the good prospect, the 90s when I graduated from the Technion. But I had a certain invention, which I filed a patent for in Reinhold Cohn with the senior partner at the time, Dr. Michael Cohen. And he, according to what he told me, it seems like the direction of software is starting to be mature in terms of possibility of getting patents. And I thought there were no software patents at the time, software engineers at the time. Within this field, and I thought it's a good opportunity, and this was a right decision. I'm happy it was made 30 years ago, and I do not regret.
I love it. Okay, so what happened? 30 years, and let's even just start. Even simpler than that. What is patent attorney? I mean, what it really is it that you do in the day to day?
Telling you, first of all, I'm lucky because most of the people that I meet are smarter than me.
I love that.
So, this is great. Yeah, I learned it. First years I was a little bit disappointed, but then I said just for a minute, instead of lemon, let's make a fit lemonade. And you just learn from really smart people. Listen, it's a great job. Your mind and your brain has to be, in focus because you're exposed to the cutting edge technologies, and you have to within a very short time understand what the client is doing. Sometimes they work on a project for 2 years, and you have 1 hour and a half to understand and to help them, to filter out what is the inventive concept there. It's very challenging, very demanding, but with time and experience. You learn to do it in the right way, and if you get a nice feedback from your clients, so it's a win-win. And what I can tell you, Michael, is I would say in the last 5 years, what's great is the things coincide in the sense that I see more and more inventors that understand the value of IP strategy in their business. And when you meet such a client, it's a great pleasure because, there is a true communication. We understand what is what the C-level executive want, and we try to build, IP roadmap, which will meet their business goal. And, great pleasure.
So the role of intellectual property within businesses, it almost feels like intellectual property feels like, to a young entrepreneur, I as an entrepreneur now and a CEO, I learned to understand the importance of it and the sensitivity behind it. But how relevant really is it in today's world where software is eating the world and anybody, everything is democratized and ideas are pretty much, worthless in tech. It's all about execution. What is the role of intellectual property in this world?
I'll tell you, I would say people tend to think about, intellectual property includes very few paradigms, patents, trademark, designs. Let's speak about patents, not the trade secrets and so forth. Others are also important, but, we only have 20 minutes and not 20 hours. So let's try to focus on patents. And, people tend to think about patents, I'll speak in the software and say, oh, just for a minute, well, it's suing someone. Suing someone is millions of dollars. Let's skip it. And it's complicated, and it will take resources from us instead of, devoting our efforts to R&D and business. And they are right. We don't believe, although patents, their purpose allows you to sue. It's in fact, the whole idea is that you can prevent others from using your inventive concept if the patent is granted, therefore. But we look at it together with the C-level executive in a very different manner, not offensive, defensive.
Okay.
What we like to think is to understand what is the, what the company is planning to do in terms of R&D. What are their business plans? What is the VP business development plans to do? And our purpose, and if it's a startup, it's a moving target. It changes, right? Every time startup things change. Our role is to build for them a minefield which will follow their R&D and business development efforts so that a competitor who would like to go into their territory will encounter rough terrain. And, because IP will be another obstacle which will hinder the possibility of penetrating to their territory. It can happen from multinational company. Can happen from a competitor. It can happen from a client which became a competitor. So all this is we think it's defensive wise, and if you build it the right way, it can help you down the road in many business scenarios. Investors, obviously, path to liquidity like M&A and public offer and so forth. But down the road, tenders, achieving competitive edge vis-a-vis clients compared to your competition because you have certain leverage. So I can give many examples how it can help you down the road. But it's, it's like an iron dome. It gives you certain protection and allows you to achieve your business goals and R&D efforts.
The process that you work generally with entrepreneurs on validating and protecting intellectual property. So if I, as an inventor, I'm coming in with my own unique technology, unique algorithm, idea, etc., what is the mileage that I need to do with you, and how do I do it so that I can actually make it defensible and something that would actually be beneficial for my business?
I'll tell you. By the way, Michael, let's not forget to have a few minutes about software and AI and machine learning. It's important.
Let's go there. That's awesome.
Some misconception about this. We are going to crack some myth here. To be very frank, Michael, you don't need to do much. What do you mean you don't need to do much? We need to have a chat. We need to have a discussion. If you explain to me what is your business, let's say that you are a CEO, and in the meeting also I'd like to have the CTO and the VP business development. Guys, what is your business? What do you want to achieve in the next year, next 2 years? Who knows what will happen in 5 years? And what are your R&D achievements so far and plans? These are the building blocks which together will build an IP strategy and reduce it to IP roadmap. So that down the road will be, we don't believe in one patent. There will be more and more patents which will embrace what you guys are doing. The more time passes, you'll have a stronger and more efficient minefield, which, as I said, will help you against competition and will help you to achieve your competitive edge. So in simple words, you don't have to prepare 20 pages, 50 pages, things, sit with the management for hours, over hours before you contact us. No, we'll do this journey together. And then, it will be reduced to technicalities. We'll say that we identify 5 patent applications. We'll instruct you what need to do A, B, C, D, E, and we'll tell you how much it costs, and we'll help you build budget and so forth.
Love it. Okay.
But the discussion with the C-level executive is the key, is the key point in understanding what you guys are doing and building, customized IP roadmap to what you guys are doing and change it as your R&D and business changes.
Yep. That makes a lot of sense.
You can't do it one time and fire and forget because it will no longer be relevant in 6 months or 1 year.
100%.
Now, do you want? Can I say something about software and
I was just about to ask.
Listen, software. Many have the belief that forget software. Why should we file patent for software? It's anyhow hidden. And if I write software, someone will change one line of the code, and you're out of the patent. And how will I litigate it? And many, and maybe and in particular for AI machine learning, why should I do it? It's a black box. Who knows what's going on in this black box? Why should I write patent? So I want to tell, it's very important for those who listen for us, listen to this podcast and are in this field. I'll say a simple statement. In most of the legend jurisdictions, US, Europe, China, Korea, Japan, Taiwan, Israel, India, and so forth, you can get a software-related patent and it is enforceable. So this is and it's not going to change. So first of all, you have to be aware of this fact. Why this is important? Because even if you don't believe in patents in software, bear in mind that this is not necessarily the case with your competition.
Right.
Because the number of software patents, every few years double itself. So if you don't believe in patents, you say, listen, I'll only rely on my R&D and my business development achievements. But your competition files and get patents. Eventually, you'll have to explain to your investors or to your potential buyer what happens, how they can maintain the competitive edge that you achieved compared to the competition, which are, loaded with patents. So that's the first thing to remember. Okay. You can definitely benefit from software patents, as we say, if you look at it from the standpoint of the defensive. If you look, for example, on an AI, on machine learning, you can get a patents for paradigms of training the machine learning, of architecture. Sometimes you have a unique architecture of the machine learning. You can you can get patents for this. So there are lots of patents, and you can see them in many, many fields that are granted, applied in the field of machine learning and AI, which, as we know, is now, you can see it everywhere. Precision medicine, digital healthcare, cybersecurity, drones, AI and machine learning is everywhere. So if your product includes an important component that pertains to AI and machine learning, as a responsible CEO, it would be a big mistake to ignore it and say, listen, it's not enforceable, let's move on. You may find eventually the competition having patents which will cause you problem when you want to pursue your business goals.
How involved then is the engineering team or the entrepreneur in this state of mind? In other words, if I'm mapping out now the involvement that I would imagine of different leaders within an organization, how frequent should this be a topic of conversation or thinking process for us in the day-to-day?
I'll tell you, we understand the nature of our clients. They are busy guys, including ladies. We see the more entrepreneur women that we see, we're happier. We understand that when they call us, they are not busy 100%. They are busy 120%. So we need to be efficient. So we are doing, 1 or 2 strategic meetings, could be 2 or 3 hours each meeting, and we crystallize the high level, strategy, and then we reduce it to X amount of patent applications, which you may assign the inventors, the specific engineers, possibly under the leadership of the CTO. We take the responsibility, we take the burden, the heavy lifting to our side because they are busy. We write the patent application, they'll have to read and review and comment, but we try to shift as much as we can effort to our end. And frequently, it can be every 3 months, Michael, we meet the management and see what's new. If they have anything, if you have good communication with the senior executive, if they come across some business event, They call us. So it's not that now they have to change all their schedule.
Yeah, that makes sense. Where are you situated in all of this? So you mentioned that you're very lucky. We talked very briefly about the transition from 30 years ago. Tell me a little bit more about, your experience, in this world, and how has that experience changed or transformed over the years?
What we see, as I told you, a strategy, and I'll touch in a minute, I guess that some of our listeners would be interested how, the new developments that we see now in the last year affect IP with, the interest rate and so forth. Listen, for me, I've seen many clients who came to me with a PowerPoint presentation, sweat, blood, money, and went all the way until past to liquidity, whether they were, purchased or floated to as a public company. And we need to follow their progress. So, when they come with a PowerPoint with a press seed of $100,000, which they have obviously tons of missions to do with this, we have to offer them one way of protecting their IP, which is very different when they are post-round B with $60 million raised, and they are now thinking on the way, to be unicorn. So we have to build a different IP strategy for this. And we had many companies who I can do, some name dropping. We had a, Visual Lead, which Alibaba bought. It's the first investment of Alibaba in Israel. So we learned a lot about the Chinese market. We had Equivio, who was sold to Microsoft. We had Storewise was sold to IBM. Many companies that went all the way from start to end. Each such company teaches us, or Core Photonics, which was sold to Samsung, and many other examples. Each such event teaches us more and allows us to give better advice for the next client. I see, as I told you, Michael, initially, now that you see more and more experienced entrepreneurs who do their second time or third time, startup, and now they come more educated and more willing to cooperate in building a better business, but also a better IP, IP plan for their new startup. And we are happy to play in this game and provide our modest advice to help this to happen.
Incredible. If there was 1 or 2 pieces of advice that you would give to young entrepreneurs, perhaps first-timers that aren't necessarily thinking or maybe are thinking about this world of intellectual property, what resonates that would be really beneficial for us to be considering as we go on our journey?
Okay. It's a good question. Let me think 30 seconds. I would say at any stage of your startup, you cannot ignore intellectual property. Maybe you think that if you have only $200,000, which you need to hire engineers and you need to do a prototype and you need to do your first client and so forth. You say, okay, IP will now, be in priority number 10. No. You have to go to a professional and discuss and understand that you are not making a mistake. So this is one thing. IP should be in your cache memory. If you're in the C-level executives, this is one thing. Maybe you will hear and say, no, I still prioritize my money to do different things, but at least, this is one thing. And the second thing, it's not a one-time game. It's not that you can do, you say, okay, I'm taking now advice. I have to go to the top patent attorneys. Okay, I have now a plan. I can show my investors, and I put this aside, and now I'm dealing with the real thing, which is R&D and business development, which is true. This is the real thing. But you have to look again at, to check whether at any stage your intellectual property, your IP roadmap fits your R&D and business development efforts. So these are the two pieces of information, two tips that I would suggest any young entrepreneur to bear in mind.
Udi, thank you so much. This was really, really enjoyable and interesting, and I really am looking forward to sharing this with everybody. So thank you for the time, for the insights, and continue helping innovators and inventors, be very thoughtful and rigorous with what they're doing and the quality of and the defensive nature of what they're doing, and understanding what it means to protect it. So thank you very much. Stay safe and stay healthy.
Thank you, Michael. I just wanted to add one comment. We face, in the last year some difficulties, but we know that crisis is the time where good startups emerge. And so don't ignore IP even in this difficult period. It will be beneficial both for good startups down the road.
Wonderful.
My pleasure.
Thank you very much.